You ever have one of those moments where you realize your entire life just changed in the time it takes to step out of your truck? That was me standing there staring at what was supposed to be my dream lake mansion, only to see a bulldozer halfway through the front porch, dust hanging in the air, and a crew of guys in safety vests looking at me like I was the intruder. Yeah, welcome to Lakeview Estates, home of the world's most power-hungry HOA. And if you're wondering where this is going, let me tell you, it gets a whole lot messier before it gets better. I'd bought that place at a county tax auction, paid a song for it, honestly, because nobody else wanted to deal with the asbestos rumors or the decades of neglect. But for me, it was never about flipping a mansion or showing off. I promised my daughter Jessie I'd find us somewhere quiet, somewhere with a porch and a lake and room to breathe again. So when I saw that place, sagging roof, peeling paint chimney, tilting a little like an old man with a stiff back, I saw potential. I saw a new chapter. And yet the first real chapter wasn't about renovations or dreams. It was about war. See, while I was picturing Jesse sketching sunsets from the porch, the HOA had other ideas, mainly taking a wrecking ball to my plans and handing me a bill for $112,000 in back fees I supposedly inherited. Out steps the HOA president, Charlene, the kind of lady who wears a white pantsuit and treats a coffee cup like a scepter. She looks me right in the eye and tells me with a smile that never touches her face, "Your deed means nothing here." I know what you're thinking. How does that even happen? Believe me, I wondered the same thing. But this woman, she had the local cops on the speed dial and a stack of fake documents that would make a con artist jealous. I told her, "You're trespassing, you and your wrecking crew." She just shrugged, said, "Pay up or we finish the job." Her SUV was barely out of the driveway before I was already searching for a lawyer. Let me back up a sec, because you need to understand this place was more than a house to me. It was a promise. I could still see Jessie in her hospital bed sketchbook balanced on her knees, dreaming up floor plans for a place by the water. That's what kept me fighting, even after the lawyer in town told me flat out, "Mike, you own the property, no question." But the HOA, they run things around here. They've got the code enforcement, the judges, the whole board in their pocket. My advice, settle and move on. Yeah, thanks for nothing. So I started doing what I do best, getting my hands dirty. I boarded up windows, reinforced doors, even started sleeping in my truck out front. Didn't matter that they sent a demolition crew or tried to slap me with a restraining order signed by a judge I'd never met. I knew I had the deed and I wasn't letting go. They tried locking me out, plaster in danger, unsafe structure signs all over my lawn, even set up security cameras aimed right at my truck. I felt like an outlaw on my own land. The neighbors wouldn't talk to me. Some wouldn't even look at me. You could feel the fear, like everybody was just waiting for Charlene to show up with her clipboard and ruin their week. I was about ready to give up when I met Pete, a wiry old-timer tinkering with a lawnmower in his garage. He'd been around since the beginning, before the rules and the fines and the fear. Pete handed me a file of the original HOA bylaws, whispered, "Don't tell anyone where you got this," and walked away. That night, parked in my truck with those brittle pages in my lap, I found the crack in Charlene's armor, a clause that said any lien, fine, or fee older than 10 years was void. Most of that $112K debt expired, illegal pure smoke. Suddenly I was looking at a chink in the dragon's scales. But I needed more than Pete's paperwork. Next stop was the county courthouse, digging through decades-old ledgers and plat maps looking for the real smoking gun. That's when I found out the HOA's corporate status had been dissolved in 2005. For 17 years, they just kept running the show like a government in exile, no legal right to do anything. I took all this to a retired title officer, Elaine, who confirmed it. "Not only are the old liens expired, your property isn't subject to the HOA at all. They're a ghost with a checkbook." I nearly laughed. Or cried. Maybe both. Now, I wasn't just fighting for me. Turns out there were a whole lot of folks with scars from that board, like Carl, whose wife was fined for building a wheelchair ramp, and David, who'd been threatened with foreclosure over a dying tree. With Pete, Carl, and David behind me, we walked the neighborhood collecting signatures for a special meeting just 10% of homeowners needed to force a recall. We talked about bird feeders, mailbox colors, plastic swing sets, all the tiny tyrannies that add up over years. We didn't just get our 20 signatures, we got 27. Then I called a local reporter, Sarah Jennings. I promised her a show, and boy, did we deliver. The meeting was chaos from the start. Charlene sneering at me from behind her table, dismissing everything as frivolous complaints from a non-member delinquent. I just calmly put the evidence up on the screen, the county document proving the HOA's dissolution, the original bylaws, my clean title. You could feel the energy shift, people whispering, then shouting, waving their own fine notices. Charlene tried to shout me down, called for a motion to have me removed. Nobody listened. The final card, I owned the pump house for the whole neighborhood's water supply, sitting on one of those abandoned lots I picked up for pennies. I told them flat out resign and release the liens or I turn off the valve. That, folks, was the end of the empire. Of course, Charlene didn't go quietly. She sent out smear emails, tried to drag my daughter's name through the mud, even tried breaking into my pump house at 2 a.m. with her little posse. What she didn't know was I'd set up trail cameras, caught them red-handed, called the sheriff, and watched the same deputy who'd cuffed me a week earlier slap the cuffs on her. The look on her face as they put her in the patrol car, yeah, I'll never forget that. And just like that, the spell was broken. Neighbors started sharing their stories. Monica, the board secretary, handed over records for a class action lawsuit, and Charlene's assets were frozen by noon. By the next morning, the vice president and rest of the board had resigned by email. Pete walked over to the entrance sign and ripped it out of the ground with a grunt. Just like that, we had our neighborhood back. We spent the next weeks rebuilding. It wasn't just my porch that got fixed. Folks who hadn't talked to each other in years showed up with shovels, coolers, and work gloves. Pete became my unofficial foreman. Neighbors helped clear the debris, and little by little the mansion stopped feeling haunted. I rebuilt Jesse's dream dock plank by plank with a simple bronze plaque, Jesse's Reach. So here's what I learned. You don't beat a corrupt HOA with lawyers or fancy tricks. You beat them with grit, truth, and a few good neighbors who remember what it means to look out for each other. I kept my promise to Jesse, and for the first time as the sun set over the lake, it felt like home. Now let me ask you, what does justice look like where you live? Ever had to take on a bully just to protect what's yours? Drop your thoughts or your own HOA horror story in the comments, because I read every one, and hey, if you believe a man's home should really be his castle, go ahead and hit that subscribe. This fight isn't just mine, it's for everyone who's ever been told your deed means nothing. What do you think? Should HOAs even have this much power?